President Putin has indicated several times a desire to speak to Donald Trump when he becomes the president of the United States in 2 weeks. What do you think Putin hopes to gain from, I'm going to use the plural, those conversations?
Well, what he hopes, but I think his hopes will be tempered by experience, but he hopes that the U.S. and Russia can establish a security relationship. What do I mean by that? The U.S. and Russia each have 6,000 nuclear warheads, most of which are aimed at the other side. They have 1,600 deployed nuclear warheads ready to be launched, most of which are aimed at the other side. This relationship determines whether the world survives physically, literally, or not. We are at the brink of nuclear Armageddon, though our mainstream media are just as stupidly dumb and silent about this as can be. The United States has destabilized the nuclear arms framework. Starting in 2002, the United States unilaterally withdrew from the anti-ballistic missile treaty. Then the United States unilaterally, over Russia's strident and ardent and understandable objections, began to deploy anti-ballistic missile systems, the Aegis missile systems, in Eastern Europe near to Russia. The United States continued to pursue the eastward expansion of U.S. military bases, so-called NATO enlargement. 7 countries in 2004, as we've talked about: Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Bulgaria, and Romania. And then in 2008 said we'll move on to Ukraine, which is the reason for the war in Ukraine. Then in 2019, under the first Trump administration, the United States unilaterally abandoned the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty. We have war, and we have a breakdown of the nuclear arms control situation. This is our real crisis. This has put America at greater risk than ever before. These fools, or demented, or absent President Biden, for example, has made America far less secure in the last 4 years. It's a disgrace. This is what President Putin would like to speak about, grown up to grown up. God help us, I hope such a serious discussion takes place. It would involve the question of whether NATO is going to stop moving, whether the U.S. is going to stop deploying missile systems near Russia's border, whether the U.S. is going to re-enter agreements like the Intermediate Nuclear Force Agreement or the broader nuclear arms control strategic framework. Those are not only serious issues, those are existential issues. With Biden, we didn't have one moment of this in a serious way, not one. This is why Jake Sullivan has been the worst national security advisor in our modern history. And I would say Blinken has been the most useless Secretary of State. And what we surmise about Biden, and what we're now starting to hear glimmers of, is that he's not been all there mentally, even from the start of his term. But that's what President Putin wants to talk about. Actually, let's just call it grown-up things.